Hello, this is Insane Monster, and this is the beginning part of What If Deku Had Crown Clown. As to what Crown Clown is, you've seen the Gray Man that I don't have to explain it that much, but more or less, it's a power that resides in its host in the Gray Man, Alan Walker's left arm, allowing his arm to turn into a weapon. At first, when it activates, it's a clawed hand, well, more or less clawed fingers, with a black and silver color scheme on the arm. But from that arm, there's also a cloak that continues to envelop his body, covering his upper body, as well as making a kind of glove sleeve covering his right arm, completing the look with a mask it's able to use for both offensive and defensive with its cloak, being able to seem that it's extending different parts of itself to act like strings or such to stab into enemies or just strike them, or to extend, grow, to wrap around the user in order to defend. As for the clawed hand, it's able to cut for just about anything. Very sharp, very powerful. And when the user grabs onto his, or, and when Alan grabs onto his wrist, when it's in that form and pulls, his entire left arm becomes a giant sword with a cross on it. It isn't able to harm humans, but it will destroy demons. When it hits a human, it more or less just goes through their body without causing any damage. Though their clothes still get ripped and torn. It still acts like a sword on inanimate objects, and as well as, I guess, demons, but in the Gray Man, it's Akuma, which are monsters that are only capable of being destroyed by innocents. Now, as for how this setup will work, after Alan Walker's death, Crown Clown ends up going in search for a new host, though something odd happened, and it ended up in a completely different place, in the My Hero world, where it found itself going into the wound of Inko Midoriya, who was just found out to be pregnant. Since Izuku's still forming, the innocence begins to integrate with its new host, though it seems that some changes are occurring within Crown Clown. For one, the interaction with the quirk gene is actually causing some changes to its abilities. And secondly, it still has some memories and such from Alan. Even though that he's gone now, it still has a kind of imprint of him with it. As for what details that this will cause, the effect that parasitic innocence, that means that the innocent is a weapon that resides in the user's body, is actually that in the D Gray Man, it causes parasitic innocent users to have a shortened lifespan because it's in their body. But since interfering with the quirk gene inside the Zuku, that problem is no longer an issue. As for other changes, well, you'll just have to wait and see for future what if parts. After Izuku's born, they see that he has a red mark that goes uh, along his left eye. When he opens it, his eye looks normal enough, but they also find that the tips of his hair are white. Doesn't seem too out of the normal for uh, a child in this universe. They, but they also see his arm, a slick red. Well, I say slick because it's his hand all the way up to his shoulder is red and it feels hard but smooth, almost like puppet, like porcelain or something. I find it odd. It has an odd mixture of a skin and porcelain feeling. At least that's how I imagine it feels from how it looks in the anime and such. But they just figured that he might have a mutation quirk that happens that's localized in his left arm. Izuku grows up, and some kids kind of mess with him about his arm being the way it is, saying that it looks kind of weird and that he might actually have a villain quirk. By the time he was 4, Izuku was walking around with his mother, though there was an incident where a car went wild. In, in that moment, Izuku tried to protect his mother, thinking, no, 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 don't hurt. No, no, I don't want mom to get hurt. Once that happens, the green jewel on his left hand begins to glow and Crown Clown activates. The cloak forms around Izuku, standing in between him, his mother, standing or more or less getting in between the car and Izuku and his mother, stopping the car dead in its tracks. Once everything's done, they Izuku is praised for saving not only his mother but other people that were near right next to them. Though Inko ended up bringing Izuku to the quirk doctor after that to go get a look at him. It isn't the same quirk doctor as in canon, since in canon he met the quirk doctor when he was 5, I believe. So yeah, he takes a look at his arm and runs some tests. He's not sure what to say. To his knowledge, Izuku shouldn't have a quirk due to the whole toe thing, but he seems to have one, and when he's asked to show off his quirk, they see Crown Clown. They see that he's able to cut through things, even metal, very easily with his clawed fingers, and that the cloak is able to extend part of itself in strands or as a whole. It's the doctor said that his son has a very powerful quirk, but now the only thing left is to name it. While Izuku was looking at his hand and they were pondering about a name for his quirk, some name came up in his mind, and he said Crown Clown. The doctor looked at him and asked, Crown Clown? Why that? But then from the back of the cloak, the mask and the hood covered Izuku's top of Izuku's face. The doctor looked at it and said, Huh, I suppose you do look somewhat like a jester, so I suppose Crown Clown should suit it. Very well, though it is an odd name. So Izuku has his quirk registered as Crown Clown, a mutation slash, I'm assuming, emitter quirk. They're assuming that the cloak that covers Izuku is part of a emitter type quirk. After a couple of years pass, Izuku is showing off his quirk and all and everything, having fun with it and playing with some kids using the cloak to catch people that are jumping up from high heights. At the time, he's at the park right now when he sees a young girl pouting. He walks over and asks what's wrong, and she says nothing, but Izuku says, "You know you're a bad liar." Which the girl just gets frustrated and said, "Fine, I want to help out my parents because it's getting hard to get by for them. My quirk can help them, but it's not." Izuku just smiles, saying, "You're a good person." After that, they started playing. If you don't know who this is by now, then it's Ochako. Deku is is playing around, and Ochako uses her quirk. At this time, he's really thinking hard about her quirk and how it can be used in all sorts of ways. When this happened, his eye begins to feel weird. The whites turn black and his pupil turns dark. I mean, ugh, his pupil turns red. Sorry, a little tongue tied right now. But what's even weirder is that these odd gear things form in front of it. One small one away from his, a little bit away from his eye, and a gear that looks like it has a uh, dark glass lens in the middle of it. When he looks at Ochako, he sees that he can tell what her quirk is: zero gravity. Though he doesn't understand why he knows the name, he just sees a weird colored aura around her. When he looks around at some of the other people nearby, he can see other auras, and that he can tell what their quirks are. He's pretty excited and just goes and hurries up and tells his mom, saying that he can see other people's quirks, showing off his eye. Nico's happy for her son and such. Now we get to where they're about in middle school, and Ojaka's still complaining that her parents won't let her help with their business, and that she just wants to help them out at home. Izuku thinks about this for a moment and says, "What about performance?" He looks at her saying, "What are you talking about?" Well, he tells her that he's been practicing all kinds of different tricks. So in his mind, he says, "Well, I've been doing them because it's kind of like on impulse, and I've been getting pretty good at them, to be honest." He's been practicing things like juggling and card tricks, as well as balancing. His physical abilities are pretty incredible. So when they looked at a way to use their quirks for gaining money in performance, they find out that there is a license for using their quirks for as a performer. And it isn't that hard to get, though there are some strict regulations for it. For one, they can't use it to just attack people out of the blue like nothing. Though if they need to use it for self-defense, that's permissible. Though there are still other regulations and rules that would make it hard, that they would have to follow to keep it. This isn't that far of a stretch of an idea, considering that some people get their quirks registered for use in construction work or in other job areas. So they decide to look it up and are actually able to get it. Though Ochako's embarrassed, so they normally use masks. Though Izuku's quirk already giving him a mask, he goes by the name Crown Clown, and with Ochako going by Zero G. They use their quirks and performances, while with Ochako using her zero gravity quirk to levitate things, and with Deku using his enhanced abilities of strength and agility to do all kinds of performances. Along with the talents he gained from these impulses that he's been having to practice all kinds of tricks. He even found out that he's like wicked good at card games. In fact, he finds himself oddly slipping into a weird frame of mind, thinking, I'm gonna take these guys for everything they have, or thinking they can beat me in cards. Then snapping out of it for a short, thinking, huh, where the hell did that come from? So they continued like this and actually earned a good bit of money. Even though instead of spending it all or whatever, they decide to take a small portion of it for themselves and put the rest into each of their own individual bank accounts or saving accounts, basically, thinking that it should come in handy just in case of a rainy day. And they've actually been enjoying themselves pretty well. They do blush at each other once every now and then, but they ain't really able to acknowledge that they have feelings for one another. And Bakugo berates them, uh, teasing them about it, as well as calling Deku a clown constantly. But it doesn't really bother Deku considering his quirk is called Crown Clown. Deku is well liked at school, though he does end up having some of the thugs that are there challenging him the cards and losing everything. Which is the if you've seen the Gray Man, then you know that that's actually pretty accurate. Though Deku does refrain and makes and doesn't make them gamble away every even the shirts off their backs. So we and this keeps going on like this until the point of the beginning of the anime. It might not have been that eventful at this point, though this is more or less part zero to lay the groundwork. Now then, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed, and remember to hit the notification bell for the uploads of future what ifs. See you later.